Hi, I'm Bob Mason. I'm excited about the opportunity to work with Sandia and help you with your leadership development. This video provides you some examples of how I work with a workshop. You'll notice that it seems to all be conversational. I like to keep it light and fun because that's when I find the most learning occurs. You'll notice that we talk back and forth a lot. We tell each other stories because that's how participants really begin to internalize the points I'm trying to make. It's when they can talk about it, when they can discuss it with other participants that real learning occurs. And most importantly, that's when they really begin to get it to a point where they can internalize it, when they can start thinking of ways that they're going to use those principles in their own situation when they get back to their team. So enjoy the video, and I look forward to working with you soon.
There's a time when you work with other people to accomplish an objective. You work with other people to accomplish an objective. When was that? When was the first time that you did that? When you get that in your head, go ahead and stand up. Now turn to the person next to you and briefly, 25 words or less, tell them about that event.
So, actually, that's
what leadership is all about. It's working with other people to accomplish something. Cyrus was the king of Persia. He's the guy that brought Media and Persia together and created the Persian Empire that ran from the Mediterranean to India. Huge empire. Cyrus the Great. He has the leadership principles that we're going to learn about here. The book was written by Xenophon, who is a Greek author who wrote it some years later. And he took all the writings and the histories of the Persian Empire, put it together, and created the book Cyrus the Great. And he talks about, from Cyrus's own words, how he led his armies and what he did when he, shall we say, acquired new territory. Now, we're going to learn about leadership. We're not going to learn about conquering things, okay?
darn.
Sorry about that. Important parts of your leadership philosophy has to do with how you interact with other people. We've asked you to write a little bit about how you want people to communicate with you. Now, refer back to your hardwired profile, and you'll see that not everybody expects the same communication from everybody else. If you pick up a paper, which I'm assuming some people still read the paper, I do.
Yeah.
All right. Watch the evening news, play around on the internet, you will find lots of examples of leaders who do not understand the concept of accountability. They just don't. So, Lucille, you're supervising a team that puts the final coating on the widget that your company sells. This coating is a fantastic invention, and it makes
It's all my fault.
So Gail, OSHA's involved.
Oh,
Yeah, because this is a pretty nasty spill, hazardous material. So you want to get ahead of things. You want to get in front of this. So you talk to Susan, who's your head scientist, your chemist. In fact, she was involved in creating the chlorofluoro stuff. Yeah. So you tell her, go find out, go investigate. Well, Susan's very diligent, and she finds that David's training a little lacking. And then she goes a little deeper, and she finds out that it's not just David. Apparently everybody in that whole team has a little bit of a problem. Their training records are not up to date. You're not really sure what training has occurred. Who's responsible for that? Who's accountable for that?
The buck stops here.
You guys obviously read ahead. Thank you for that. But this is such a hard thing for leaders to understand. You're right. You're accountable for everything that happens in your company. And OSHA's going to explain that to you. Unfortunately.
That's why I want to get ahead of it.
That's right. But that doesn't mean that you let Lucille off the hook.
Oh,
You can't. Oh no. You can't say, well, I'm responsible for this, so Lucille is okay. Because obviously she's got a problem in her team. Just as Lucille has accepted responsibility for what happened on her team, she doesn't necessarily have to let David off the hook, who no longer works for your company. This is such a hard thing for leaders to understand. It's very easy to stand up and say, yeah, this is me when your team succeeds, which, by the way, is a thing you don't want to do. But it's a lot harder, and it really is, to stand up and say, I'm accountable. It was hot. Has anybody ever been where it's 130 degrees or more every day?
Not every day.
No.
Not any
And I wish you could have been there with me to feel that oppressive heat. And the wind, 35 miles an hour or more, every day, sun up to sun down. It brought the smell of jet fuel and oil and sand. Lots of sand. Kind of stings a little. But you have to remember that the free exfoliation is one of the benefits of being at the undisclosed location. As you're standing there in that blast furnace, you notice that it's kind of dark. Which seems a little odd because there hasn't been a cloud in the sky for months. So you look at your watch, it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And this is what you see. That airplane is about 50 yards in front of you. If you had a satellite view, you could tell that there were 25 more behind it. And you're responsible for all of them. You're responsible for making sure that they are safe, reliable, and mission ready. Out there among those airplanes are also about 250 mechanics. They're the ones that actually make the airplane safe, reliable, and mission ready, and you're responsible for them. And the reason is that among those 250 people were leaders. In the business world, we call them supervisors and managers. But make no mistake, these were leaders. They knew how to put those teams together to quickly make them efficient and effective. How to recognize and deal with conflict early. How to communicate. How to work with people. How to create a motivational environment. I'm going to show you a model that will show you how to create that kind of an environment that leads to employee engagement. The idea of being able to take on something and accomplish it is pretty neat. Has anybody experienced that? Are you nodding your head? Sure. What happens when you've accomplished that and you feel good about yourself? Increase your self-esteem, right? What happens next?
Bigger challenges.
Bigger challenges, yeah.
Exactly.
What did they say?
We want bigger challenges.
You're looking for something else. It's almost a drug. It really is. You've accomplished something and you're ready to move on.
Do you think, let's split the millennials for a second.
Okay.
Because if they're raised by older parents, I totally agree with that. If they're raised by the younger boomers, I kind of disagree.
Okay.
Because have you ever read The Millionaire Next Door?
No.
It's a book about how boomers have coddled their helicopter parents or kids. And when you build the self-esteem and you challenge them on things, they shy away from it. It's like they're so smart on technology and on tactical things, but the strategic and the accountability are lacking in some of them. It depends on the parents who raise them. It's not all. But I see that in half of the Gen Ys I have. The other half, I see responsibility and accountability. It's interesting, that parent thing that you said about the mother's age. I think it really plays big, and you can't ask them that on the interview.
How old is your mom?
Yeah, how old is your mom?
I can't provide any research to back this up, so you just have to take this as anecdotal. But experience tells me that that's not unique to the millennial generation. I think you would find that across the board. And I think it has to do some with how you raise, but I know there are some people who just are not motivated by that. You're just not. It'd be an interesting study to find out more about that. That's very interesting. But I ran across that. There were always some people that say, don't care. Right? For the most part, I found that that really helped with the self-esteem.
And do you find in this challenge thing with the millennials that they prefer to work in groups on a challenge? Because what I have found is that you take, if the challenge is as an individual, they don't do as well. I find that they ask for a lot of direction, and they ask for a lot of kind of support along the way, and then once they get an idea of what needs to get done, then they'll do it. But that's not really a response to the challenge. What I found is if you put they do very well working in groups, because that's kind of what they do in school now.
Right.
High school and college,
Right.
It's all groupthink.
And it's funny, they call it groups, boomers call it teams.
Yeah.
Same thing though.
The same thing. Yeah. I would answer that by saying that I've observed that too, but again, not just with that generation. I see it. Remember, we're talking about basic human needs that don't change much from one age group to the next. It's just how they're manifested that sometimes looks different. Actually, boomers got very used to working in teams. And I don't think boomers do very well individually, frankly. That's just me. But millennials, yeah, they like to work in groups. But have you tried taking them out of the group and see what happens? They don't like that. Okay. This is beyond this particular piece here, but from a leadership perspective, you need to do that. Because if you're looking at future leaders, you can't have people that can only work in a group. You got to have people that can work independently. But, and here's the hard part, you don't want people who only work independently.
Also, when they're in a group sometimes, like if kids in school, the smartest kid does the work and the other ones, I think most of us have seen that, with my own children, that type of thing. So sometimes they like it, sometimes they don't. But I'd say the majority of the time my kids in school, they didn't like it. Now, I know you're not talking about school-age kids, you're talking a little bit older when they're in the workplace.
Right.
But still, it's a natural thing that they're not all the same intelligence. And some of them are going to dominate and do more of the work or have more of the brain power and come up with the ideas and they're going to be the leaders of that group.
Brain power is important, but the ones that are really driving the group are the ones with the energy and the ambition to do it. And they may not be the smartest one. I counsel leaders all the time that if you really feel like you're the smartest person in the room, you are in the wrong room. Notice my arrow up here. There's a relationship in these motivational blocks. I found that it's very difficult for people to genuinely have good feelings of self, to really be in that motivational mode and the self, if they don't feel a belonging. Now the interesting thing is that may not be in your company. That may not be on your team. It's got to belong somewhere though. And if they don't feel that self-esteem tends to go away. Anybody ever notice that with anybody you work with? Where they just didn't seem to have it. Of course, y'all are so great that.
Well, you see it, I think, when one of your employees is kind of going through personal issues, a divorce or something like that, where they feel they're having problems in their personal life, and all of a sudden they're withdrawing from work and withdrawing, because all of a sudden they feel like they don't belong anywhere, they have nobody to talk to or anything like that, and you see their performance go down at work, and so, the sense of belonging is in their own personal